This is what I promised when I started playing Mecha BREAK during its final beta test, and here we are. So without further ado, here's my first map review. The Kraub Sinkhole is one of the Operation Verge maps with the win condition of capturing data nodes to achieve 1000 points, or just more points than the enemy team to win the match. Both teams will start off descending into either one of the cave system entrances, with Point A, or the top center area, as the main area of early match skirmishes. And of course, later in the match, points B and C will deploy. And here's where the main point of the video comes into discussion, revolving around what tends to go on in such matches on this map. But bear in mind, anything I say is just a personal experience, which may or may not be different from what you have experienced. The first and obvious would be point concentration behavior. The most cliche thing I've ever seen would be teammates focusing too much on point A due to confusion arising from poor or non-existent team coordination, which tends to occur when solo queuing, while the 2 points in the cave systems will be left or split between strikers attempting to retake either one of the 2 points, while the 2 points in the cave systems will be either left on their own or split between strikers attempting to retake either one. Combat on this map would be easier considering the size of the map. Thus, the distance everyone would find themselves to be in would be at close distances for just about every encounter, such as a falcon flying over to intercept an Aquila. Let's take Point A to start. Combat below Point A is nearly non-existent, but rather just a place to take a bath in the crystals to regain energy and shields. Any striker in the shallow waters is really only there because they dropped down to escape whatever threat was above them. Then comes the exterior of the cave. This is where you will find Narukamis hanging out to pick off anyone on Point A, which has become as cliche as hiding on the rocket or the mountain cave at the Eye of Mesra map. The main capture point itself is where all the combat occurs, and due to its opening space, there's nearly no way to shelter yourself should anyone on the enemy team decide to go after you. There are 3 ways to approach Point A. Let's say you are piloting the Falcon Striker. The first one is just too risky. To fly onto the point, which only makes you vulnerable to melee strikers, to fly from above where the hanging platforms are located, while it's something you wouldn't likely do at first unless you are piloting Aquila or even Stellaris, but to execute a death from above or just a hit and run approach comes with the flaw with those platforms and pillars obstructing your view, and in some cases, fighting on Point A can easily result in becoming separated from your team. To give a personal experience once again, I tend to burn too much of Falcon's energy, so when I decide to land, I didn't know where else to go except to drop down below Point A, while in most cases, enemy strikers decide to halt their pursuit. Results may vary because what's more important, sticking to your team or utilizing equipment to go after one enemy at the cost of being separated? But so far, any pursuits I've experienced were usually done by one striker and not 2 or more, thank goodness. Then comes combat in the caves. Points B and C both share the common challenge of dealing with tighter spaces. Thus, close quarters combat is the norm in such areas, and the minor annoyance of FCS systems getting tricked by tankers present near the data nodes. There's nearly not much you could do differently in comparison to an open environment. But for strikers such as Narukami, usually you will find them setting up camp with their decoys on the top of cave openings, and just like with any other data node, you can usually find a Welkin, Stego, or anything heavy taking the initiative to capture the point. Is anything risky? I cannot say for other strikers, but any light striker can easily fall victim due to the less ways of escaping. To travel to points B or C, I will say it's rather rare to see anyone using the moving platforms, but what about any strategies I would go with? For the start of the match, I would fly to my right in order to try to harass the enemy team for a little bit, then quickly flying back to my teammates. And just like with some maps, you don't necessarily have to wait until your striker fully descends to the bottom to boost your striker forward. I also want to bring up, it's designed in a way it has only 3 paths to choose from: the middle, or turning to either side of the caves after respawning, or once again repeating myself, starting off the match. This can benefit many who come from games such as COD or CS. Such series of games feature maps with mostly 3 paths to navigate with. With that being said, here's a recap of the Kraub Sinkhole. It's a map where navigation is not as open but simple to understand. Combat or anything expected to occur can be predictable in points B and C, but make sure you do not fall victim to melee strikers because the consequences can be difficult to escape from. Anything can occur with combat on point A, but is less predictable. The map size is of a smaller scale, so combat against snipers can be easier to deal with in comparison to larger maps such as Cape Block Observatory, where snipers can be anywhere, thus less predictable. I know I've learned my lesson. There's also this interesting question to bring up. Is this map compatible with other game modes offered in 6v6? Unfortunately, it's not, with the major factor being in map design, especially with map size, which can make even deathmatch a problem. So it can lead to many predictable, if not unlikable tactics, if you want to put it that way, such as resorting in luring enemies to the cave if you are playing something heavy, such as Welkin. However, that is the subject to everyone's personal opinion. But to bring a positive factor, again, to this map, it possesses both light and dark areas, which can serve as a good practice for identifying Narukamis that are invisible in both said situations. And finally, this map does not feature any complex mechanics, making it a good map for anyone new to the game. And with all of that being said, I would give the Kraub Sinkhole map a rating of 3.5 stars out of 5. It's not to paint this map in a bad image, but it's more along the lines of factoring in what occurs on the map when it comes to combat, and map design as one of the factors, while anything minor such as, but not limited to, FCS systems getting fooled by stuff on the map or just accidentally falling into the bottom area of point A is seen as a lesser issue. I originally thought I could give this map 4 out of 5 stars, but I realized that can be too biased because from a personal experience, I did not like this map at first during the final beta, but I actually came to enjoy it over time. And of course, to give such a positive rating would contradict a lot of points I've mentioned earlier, and this being my first map review, I will cover more Operation Verge maps because that's the idea for anything commentary related in terms of Mecha BREAK videos I will be uploading currently. So what about all of you? Do you like this map? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. My name is Dragon Actual, and thanks for watching. See you next time.